And you've been roommates on ISC and roommates on Team Canada. Does he annoy you as much as Hilly annoys me on the road? Is there certain things, or is it just Hilly?
No, man, he is annoying. Yeah. He's annoying. Just coffee. Like, he'll just want to go for a coffee at random times. And he's so slow at drinking his coffee. Like, he'll have a Starbucks for 4 hours and he's still there sipping it. I'm it's piping hot and I'm guzzling it. And he's just there like the queen, just sipping the coffee, you know? That's annoying.
But I'm a man now. For courting 6 girls all at once they use me.
Bye-bye baseball!
My mother said it was naughty. I should place it back. But I said if it's naughty, sure it's also very nice.
And the Lolly drops his glove, grabs Tom. The benches are clearing.
Dust Up with Hilly and Lolly is brought to you by CoolBet. If you got a few extra bucks rattling around in your arse pocket, CoolBet Sportsbook will double your first deposit up to $200 when you use the bonus code DUSTUP. Head over to coolbet.com and get in on the fastest growing entertainment sector in the world. That bonus code again is DUSTUP, one word, all capital letters, DUSTUP. Welcome back, folks. Episode number 13 of Dust Up with Hilly and Lolly. And Hilly, I'm excited about tonight's guest. We got 6-time Canadian Senior Men's Champion, 2-time ISC World Champion, 2-time Pan Am Champion, and 2015 WBSC World Champion, one of the captains on Team Canada, brain trust behind the dish, and Ryan Boland coming on the podcast with us.
Yes, sir, buddy. You said I've been looking forward to this one since we did Obi. I know him and Obi, Sean O'Brien, are good buddies, and we got another elite catcher who's seen it all, who's done it all, and it's in my opinion, it's always great to hear the insights and the goings on from behind the plate, like you said.
Yeah, it's a cool position. They get they get a lot of control over the game, a lot of influence over it, and he's one of the best for a reason. And he got a great story. Like a lot of our guests that come on here, growing up in a small town, comes from a softball family, put the hard work in, and has now worked his way up to being at the top of his game. But it's really cool to see what he's also doing to give back to the game with the Avalon Wave Fundamentals, which I know is near and dear to you. And we're going to talk to him a little bit about that program and how it started and how it got to where it is now. But he's done so much in the game. You know, he's been a part of so many big moments, some controversial, some funny, and some just the best the best softball moments you can hope for. So a really great chat with one of the best to ever played a game.
Yeah, well, without further ado, let's dig into it.
Here we go. Ryan Boland. Here he is, Hilly. Look at him. The leader himself, captain, quarterback of the team, Ryan Boland. There he is, Hilly.
What's up, Ollie?
Hey, fellas, how's it going?
Oh, excellent, man. Excited to get you on here, chat through a bunch of stuff, but we love getting our good buddies and teammates, and the good thing with you is there's so much that we can go through locally, nationally, and internationally, and there's so many funny stories, really high-level stuff, but we're really interested in hearing, too, is that you have so much insight into the game, and I love talking to catchers in general, but you got a really cool story, really cool position that you play, though, Boley, because I love getting our former teammates on here, current teammates, but the catching position, I find it the most fascinating position in the game. Hilly will say it's pitching, and that's where it all happens, but no, the brains of the operation are behind the dish, and you got a lot of stories that we want to go through back there. But in general, how are things home for you right now?
Not bad, boy. I mean, we had Halloween last night. So first Halloween was 2 kiddos. That was all right.
Yeah, what was it like, though, going around? Were you out trick-or-treating, or you have to stay back and man the treats?
No. We did a few of the family houses at first, and then we went over we had a bit of a neighborhood watch on the go now. A couple of buddies around, Keo and Kenny. So we went over to Kenny. It was Kenny's turn for dominoes last night. So we went over there. Last night. Trick-or-treated around the subdivision. Yeah, it was all right. Kids had sugar rush and farting around. Yeah. It was good.
And for any of our listeners out there, our buddy Kenny King grew up, one of my best buddies. We've mentioned him on the podcast a couple of times. And Sheldon Keogh, one of our good buddies who play ball with us. They're all in the same cul-de-sac. But what happened to Keogh last night?
Oh, he sent me a text during the baseball game of his door cams, or he got webcams all around the house. He thinks what he got over there is important, I suppose. But anyways, he's like Fort Knox over now with these webcams. Anyway, he sent me a video of a couple of hooligans coming up on his step, robbing his bowl and these 2 boxes of chips, 9:30 at night.
Rotted, was he?
I'd say he was ratted, but I'd say like a couple of bags of chips now, like gone for his lunch today, right? So.
Yeah, I bet you we had 200 kids around here, man. It was madness. We were a little bit late. We're out, same as you, visiting family and stuff and taking them to Nan and Pop's house and all this and that. Oh, I'll tell you a funny story. I took him over to my brother Michael's, right? And Mike is a loon at the best of times. And so this is like 3:30, 4 o'clock, whatever it was. And he was like, "But I haven't even, Gary's gone down to the store now to try to get some stuff like for Halloween. Never even had nothing out or nothing." So what did he do? We were leaving. He gave Weston and Myra a pack of hot chocolate. He threw $5 in there. He said, "Marsh, grab him an ice cream on the way home."
Atta boy, Mikey.
Yeah.
Oh, Snoop.
Yeah, we were slim pickings when we got home last night, but I'd say it's a couple of the hooligans now just taking every last bit of chips on the step. So yeah, it was all right. No damage, so that's the main thing anyway.
Well, that's good, boys. I would consider that a really, really good Halloween update, and that's what everyone's here to listen to. I was talking about Halloween, so let's get into her. Boley, you got a stellar career so far. We've known you literally your entire playing career, and it's been a treat to play with you and really see your development within the game, turning yourself into a young guy coming on the scene, really getting the lay of the land to becoming a professional catcher, leader, captain on the team. So excited to go through a bunch of your career and some of the highlights in there and gain that insight that you have and really talk about a lot of the stuff that you're doing off the field to grow the game. But when I think back on your career, so Hilly and I had the pleasure of playing with your dad, Dave Boland, who is one of the best catchers to ever come out of Newfoundland. And we played with him when we were 18. I was 18. Hilly was 17 on Fog City. And you and Shane, your brother, were down farting around the ball field. They were throwing the ball around. But can you talk a little bit about that era of softball in Newfoundland and when you used to be down around the ball field and seeing your dad catching at that level? What was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, times have certainly changed there. I remember going down watching Stanley's Pub, Gators, then Fog City. I mean, stuff was just so aggressive. You know, the ball players on different teams didn't like each other. And it wasn't like a unified group of Newfoundland ball players that really wanted to go and try to do, you know, what our generation did together. It was fun ball to watch. And local sports, it was probably the best game in town when you see that aggressive style of play and the competitive nature of it. But I feel what was lacking there was I guess, a sense of understanding that there's something bigger out there than just your competitive nature and locally. And I think if they had to come together and into that realization, they probably would have had success at the national stage. Watching it locally, it was unbelievable. I mean, there was fights and hit by pitches and, all that, fun stuff that bleacher creatures like watching. But now looking back, I mean, in the moment, it was unreal to go watch, Ward Goss and Dave and Billy Windsor and Jeff Kirk and these guys, but I think they definitely had some unfinished business, and we us guys, I guess, were lucky enough to pick up the slack there.
Yeah, it seems like obviously back then there was a lot less guys traveling. You had your Colin Abbott, Ward Goss, Scotty Mercer, and a couple of the young guys, DJ and those guys, but. For whatever reason, like they had the talent. They always go to the nationals, and we were just reading about it at this point in time, and they'd always finish first, second place, get double life. But for whatever reason, there was a roadblock. Once you get to when the rubber hits the road, there was a roadblock, and it would always be 1-2 barbecue and done. And we could never figure it out. I mean, when we won our first championship, it took 50 years for Newfoundland to win the first national championship, right? And looking back and looking at all the Hall of Famers, and you hear the stories, like, I mean, the talent was there, but for whatever reason, there was just something preventing them from getting over that hump.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but it's a cool perspective on it, because when you put it out like that, because the talent, individual talent, and the club team talent was there. There's no question. There was enough good ball players that if they had to put together an all-star team, could have gone and done what's
Absolutely.
happened. And the competitive landscape back then that they were playing against, especially within Ontario. We talked to Todd Martin. We talked to some of these guys that played back in, and then it was harder to come out of the Ontario eliminations or qualifiers than it was to win the Nationals. So the competitive landscape back then was different than it is today as well. But one of the things that I think that era of ball players should be really proud of is the path that they paved for us, and then the fact that they took on a lot of us as young ball players, passed on that knowledge. There was never met with who are these young punks, who do they think they are. It was always welcomed in, passing on the knowledge. And your father was great. He was a very intense man, a very intense teammate. Luckily, we didn't have to play against him. we're on the dugout with him, Hilly. He's in there. I remember you talked about him on a couple episodes where, what did you say to him about throwing down the first, you want me to do whatever?
Oh yeah. Well, I was playing first base, and I said, Davey, do you have a pickoff sign or anything like that? He said, oh yeah. He said, I'll throw the ball down. He said, you fucking catch it.
Yeah, it was pretty raw, right? It was raw like that.
But I think you might be the only, I think you are the only teammate of mine that I've had where I play with their father. I think, Hilly, that might be, and it's really cool to see those similarities, because you are one of the most intense individuals. You have a reputation for that. But when the Ryan Boland wick gets a little short, when things get a little intense, and we got a few moments that we're going to save for a little bit to go through you. But did that rub off from growing up within that softball family, having your brother there to drive each other, and having that example with your dad to look up to?
I think so. Obviously, like you said, he was pretty aggressive and had a short fuse. I'm aware that I do as well. So I try to.
That's step one.
Yeah, awareness. I admit I have a problem. But I mean, when a catcher does lose their cool like that, it's no good for anybody. So I certainly try to keep that in control. But yes, I think a lot of it comes from watching that era and that style of play. I understand that the game is changing, and different powerhouses are taking over around the world, and different styles of play, but. I don't think that aspect is really ever going to change in my game, is that aggressive nature. And I will try to keep the short fuse intact, but I don't think the apple falls too far from the tree with respect to Davey and my attitude. Yeah.
Was it always catching for you, Ryan, growing up playing minor ball in the Ghouls? Were you always a catcher? Did you move it around a bit, or?
Oh, no. I mean, so playing minor ball, I was a pitcher because I just, we needed pitchers, and I could do it just because I just practiced so much and in the backyard, and just so I could pitch for our team. And then it was like in Canada games, I played first base and caught a little bit. And in junior, I started off playing second, and then I went in catching probably 2008 full time as a catcher. So yeah, I played everywhere. I mean, catching. To me, it was trying to figure hitters out and figure out sequences. Like, I don't know, I guess I'm a bit of a ball geek when it comes to tendencies and trying to figure that side of the game out. So even at an early age, like I remember catching for John Kane in 2004. I mean, he was a big guy back then. He was probably, top 2 or 3 in Canada, and I got to catch for him. And that really opened my eyes to how balls moved in the zone and how you can really get hitters out with power and precision and change in speed. So I didn't get to catch like full time until 2008, but it was certainly something that I knew I wanted to pursue. I never thought I'd be catching at the level I'm catching at. Then I obviously got some lucky breaks and played on some good teams, but yeah, I was happy to pursue that avenue.
So I asked Sean O'Brien the same question back whenever he was on months ago. So growing up, when you finally became a full-time catcher, like obviously your father is one of these guys, and maybe Obi is one too, but who were your catching heroes in the game, or guys that you model your style after, or kind of pick their brain or what have you?
Yeah, so I guess Dad until after Canada games, and then to be honest, like the only really other catcher I played with was Sean O'Brien, and watching him
Yep.
in '07 and in 2010, like I didn't ever be around ball like at a national or international stage until geez, it must be 2009. So I didn't. My eyes opened up, I guess, in junior in 2006 when we won that gold medal. But
Mhm.
it was just Dad, really, and that's what I wanted to do. And then Sean O'Brien, like certainly playing with you guys in 2007 and learning from him and seeing what he does. I mean, that was a great experience for me. But that was it. It was Dad and him. Yeah.
Is there a black book or a version of a black book?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a black book.
Yeah, we're going to go into a bit of detail on that because there's a lot of you are well, you call it geek, I'd call it brain or whatever you want to have back there, but it's something in my mind, and I know a lot of the national team guys and ISC teams that you play with, it probably shouldn't be expected of you because it is such a cumbersome task going through all the studying and all it, but it is now. When Ryan Boland is joining a team, that becomes expected of you, and it's no brainer that it helps every team that you've been a part of. When did that get to the level that it is now? And just for our listeners out there, a little bit of background on what that is. It's when we were in 2015, or really your whole national team career, would be after game, you would get special video done off by the coaches that was only for you, and the other catchers as well. But you would go down through that, and then you'd sit with the pitchers and go through and chart all of our at-bats, all of the games, and then really come together with a game plan for the next team that we're going to play against. When did it get to that level and for you to start taking that side of the game as seriously as you do today?
Well, peel it back a little bit. I remember when I played with Westside, I think in 2010, when three of us played together, and you said to me, Steve, and you're like, I think you can be the next catcher on Team Canada. You just got to keep going, playing and hitting well. So for 3 years, about 2010 to 2013, I've just solely focused on hitting, and just I need to hit well in these events, and I need to go have a good showing. I need to just hit. I need to hit my way on the national team. And I had 3 pretty good years at the plate. And after 2012, when we won the Pan Ams, like you're kind of just on a super high, or like we're the best in my mind. Like, how can you get any better? Like, we're the best. I'm the best, man. Like, we just won, and this is my first time in Team Canada. And then you go into Auckland in 2013, and you get fucking shit pumped, basically. Finishing 5th with that team.
Exactly.
It was a massive reality check, and you're just trying to, you think about, you sit back and think about it, it's like, I didn't take anything away from that event other than went down, had a good time. We were in New Zealand. I was 20 whatever, like young, early 20s, and we got smoked because we were unprepared. And it was really after that tournament, it took a few things away, like some hitters that are going to be up and comers, namely on Argentina, who eliminated us. So you'd start writing that stuff down. But I remember saying to myself, okay, you're going to be on the team now as long as you can bring, like, they know you can hit. You can hit. You already proved that you're on the team from that side of things. But what can we do, or what could I do personally to bring more value to the team? And that's when it just came to, like, logging opponents, hitters or pitchers. And it was just like, I have to study these hitters in order to make our pitching staff succeed. And I just started my book from that. It was just basic. It started very basic, like he swings at 0-2, he's a free swinger, or he don't swing at first pitch, to location, to what pitches are they getting out on, and and that's how it started to build.
Yeah, well, it's had that impact because our video sessions the following days, or when we'd meet in the morning, we had a night game, and I'm talking specifically with the national team now. We'd go down, we'd review the game last night, the at-bats from all of our hitters, and then it would be pretty well Boley take us through the hitters on the other team. And then we go through video, you go through the book, and then there was always a game plan. And it's interesting for me because, especially at the national team, we're all players on the team. Some, you tried, there's captains on there, but everyone's really the best ball player in their position or one of the top two in their position. And then you got the best coaching staff out there. But catchers, and you in particular, you got an interesting relationship with the coaching staff where there's trust built up that they'll ask your opinion. They'll come to you about who should start or when a pitcher should be taken out of the game or what type of approach you want to take. What's that been like for you, the relationship with the coaches that you've played with?
It's been the past, I guess, 7 years. The coaches will come and ask my opinion, which is, to me, it's flattering. It's unbelievable that there's that much trust built up there. But for me, the biggest takeaway for me when a coach comes is just you have to be honest with them. There's no secret. Like, I'd love to play every game and win every game with Sean, but that sometimes his time is up on the mound, and we've seen that in 2015 when Devo came in, and it wasn't me in 2015 that said Sean was done. It was 100% John Stewart who seen that from the sidelines, and everyone else could see it as well, I'm sure. But I'm sure when John looks at me and he gives me a nod, and I'll nod back, and that's reassuring for them too. So for your coach to look at you and say, and you're the one I'm never going to be the one who's going to make that decision, but I guess reassurance to the coaching staff is valuable, and it worked out for us many times.
Yeah, so just talk about your relationship with Clary there. You guys started throwing to him in junior. When was it, 08 or 07, whenever it was? And obviously you guys have had a lot of success, and you've won at every level, including Team Canada. What's it like throwing catching for your buddy Sean Clary?
Yeah, he's obviously the ultimate pro when it comes to perfecting his game and trying to get hitters out. He puts a lot of work into his physical side of things, but when we're in the room scouting hitters, Sean is also doing that. We're making a game plan, whether it be against Hilly United or Argentina or New Zealand. We defensively, at least at the battery side of things, we have it figured out. So when I say figured out, I'm not saying that teams can't beat us. We have it figured out in our own heads that we're confident enough to go get a win. So in our heads, we're more ready than our opponent, because I don't believe as many teams, or certainly battery mates, or probably even hitters, put that much time into studying their opposition. So it's like anything. It's like if you study hard for a test, you obviously feel better and you're more confident going into that than when you don't. So, we look at every game and every event as a test, and at the end of it, you kind of do a debrief and how'd you make out? Hopefully we got a couple left in us, but if not, we'll try to share that knowledge to the next crew.
Upcomers.
Yeah. And you'll always be associated with one another when you're long said and done. And you've been roommates on ISC and roommates on Team Canada. Does he annoy you as much as Hilly annoys me on the road? Is there certain things, or is it just Hilly?
No, man, he is annoying. Yeah. Coffee. Like, he'll just want to go for a coffee at random times, and he's so slow at drinking his coffee. Like, he'll have a Starbucks for 4 hours and he's still there sipping it. It's piping hot and I'm guzzling it, and he's just there like the queen, just sipping the coffee, That's annoying. But he's good. Like, he'll watch whatever's on TV. He likes, I like stand-up comedy, but he loves stand-up comedy to the point where, you can't even sleep because he's laughing so hard at Kevin Hart. So he's annoying like that. He don't like cool shows like I do, but no.
He does it. He has one of the funniest laughs, like the most infectious laughs. Once he gets going, he starts cracking up, and he cracks himself up too, right? Like, if he makes a joke, and it's hilarious. Once you get him going laughing, man, because he's people that probably don't know him or only know him from playing against him or being a fan watching him. He's pretty stoic, right, when he's out there on the mound. But you get him in the right situation, man. He's hilarious. He's hilarious to be around.
He is, and that stoic like demeanor. I mean, he tries that. Like that's something like that got to be tough. Like I mean, if you look at Sean and from the side, you're probably saying, Jesus, nothing's going to rattle him or he's bulletproof. But I think that's a part of his game that really helps him because he never looks like he's rattled. But you're right, after a tournament or get on the beer or whatever, it's he's shadow boxing in the mirror or whatever, just making fun of people. So
little bit of a detour before we move on there, Bully. So you get to face him every week back home here in league. So does that give you the edge?
No, man, I don't think.
No.
I mean, it should probably but I mean, he might just go in against us and just throw 65 or 60 and then the timing's just off, I don't know, Hilly. I mean, hitters, if you're a good hitter, you're batting, 400 in the league down home. And, I mean, I'm probably batting 150 off Sean, maybe.
Yeah, so, and then, geez, that must be good for the average because you got to face the fireballer Jason Hill there on a regular basis too. That mustn't be doing much for the batting average either, Bowley. But
no. I know. Oh, Hilly can get around there too, boy. Hilly can get around there too.
Yes.
Yeah. But all right, there's one thing it's written down here, and I do want to bring it up. 2006 Nationals for junior. So. For our listeners out there, Ryan Boland just put up a picture of him at the Nationals. And for people who don't know, I played with Ontario that year. This was my first time never playing for Newfoundland. Newfoundland has never won a junior Nationals. I was playing with Aurelia, and I wanted to play with St. Thomas Centennials that year and try and make Team Canada. And you couldn't play for two different provinces at seniors and juniors. So I ended up having to play for Ontario. And then we go out, and sure enough, we're facing off against Kelly's Pub Junior Canadians in the championship game. And then the boys come out, and they beat us. And it's rubbed in my face for the last however many years, 15 years now. But that aside, what was that event like for your dedication or future in your own mind around the game of fast pitch?
Like, looking back, that was... it definitely kickstarted my vision of what it could be and what, playing ball at a higher level could be. So I think we were 2.5 years together from 2003 to 2005 as a Canada Games team. And, so that's that group of 15 players like you guys were part of. And we had a few older guys on that team that moved on to junior. And you and Jason and Jeff, I believe, weren't able to play junior. So Brad and I, and we were still in midget. We said, well, let's go try out for the junior team. I mean, that's where the rest of the Canada Games guys are. Just stick together and might have a shot at it. Like the good fellas aren't there. So we might be able to play. And I remember going up there we made the team, which was awesome. We got to play senior, got to meet Sean and the older guys. We went to Quebec, and I remember watching the skills competition. I think you were in the home run derby and Mason was in the home run derby and you guys were hitting them over train tracks and we were there what the fuck is this? Where are we? No idea. And anyway, we started playing and all of these fellas that I had no idea who they were. And maybe that was a good thing because I wasn't in awe, with anyone. We started getting on a roll, and Sean was pitching well, and I didn't know he could pitch. I mean, I didn't know anything. I was just oblivious to it all. And then we made the playoffs, and we said we're going to get Quebec, and Strappy, I think Strappy or one of the guys was like, we got a pick on Francois, and I was like, whatever that is, a pick, and we managed to beat him. Brad made an error in the 6th or 7th inning, then he hit a walk-off home run to win it. He came in the bench in the dugout crying, and then Mark Lewis looked at him and said, you're going to end this game or something like that. And a couple hits and Brad got up and hit a shot to go ahead or something like that. And
That's
then
where it all started then.
yeah, we get in the finals and we're playing you guys. And I'm on second base at this time. And I remember it was 3-3 and I was up with the bases loaded. Championship game, didn't know, man. And Leahy, I think that he was a lefty, right? Leahy?
Yeah.
Drilled me in the kneecap. And I remember just fist pumping, going down the line, like, fucking go ahead, run.
Big RBI, attaboy.
Yeah, big RBI. And then we won. And it was like, fuck, like this was not supposed to happen. And the sponsors were happy and everyone was happy. And then the next year, 2007, you go in, you're defending champs now and you're expected to win. And we finished second and that was a good showing. And personally, I did quite well at the event. And, then I got called up for RMM for senior nationals. I mean, called up, I sat on the bench, got one at bat, but it was an unbelievable experience for me. Just being around you guys, and now you're really talking about, situational hitting and picking pitchers and team meetings before the game. Like we didn't do any of that. We were as raw could be. And I think, a lot of it had to do with getting an opportunity to play in 2006 and beating some big teams and some big players and then continuing the momentum.
I didn't realize you guys, like yourself and Brad, were still midget when you guys won that.
Yeah, we were midget.
Holy shit.
I would have been happy enough that summer playing Eastern Canadians in midget. Like that was, like after Canada Games, had no vision of ever playing junior. Like it wasn't even in the radar.
I also can't believe we didn't talk about when you drilled Wally. Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
Arseholes, man. The works.
I wish I was pitching. I would have done it too.
Yeah, I would have charged you, Hilly, so fast. The bat in hand, coming out after you. You drilled me in championship game of nationals. I would have flattened you. Simple, right then and there, flattened. And then probably would have been jumped by all the boys. And then I don't know if the rest of the Ontario team would have came out and had me back. So I probably would have just walked down the first. But it was. Yeah, that was a great event, but that's when you started to come on the radar, right? Even we were young, we're still junior age, but you're always looking to see who's coming up, especially when we get to play in Newfoundland. The midget players that are coming, the junior players, and we're all looking at the top senior guys. But even when you make the jump to the ISC, which we'll jump into now, you get there at a relatively young age, early 20s, but what people don't really realize, they see, okay, this guy's just coming on the scene, but you just said it. You're playing top end junior ball when you're in midget. You're playing you're playing in championship games at the junior or at the senior nationals when you're just entering junior. So there's a lot of experience gained over that time. And then what year was it that you finally made the jump into the ISC and how did that come to be and who were you playing with?
So we went to an AAU tournament. I went with Team Minnesota. So the current sponsor of Kegel was sponsoring that team. So I went down with Ward, Frank Cox, Brad was on the team, Tim McCumber. And I think we were probably watching you guys in the finals. We were eliminated on the beer, obviously.
Obviously.
In Disney World, like, what is this? Anyway.
$26 beers.
Yeah, $26 beer. And the guy said, I'm the sponsor for Minnesota Angels. You want to play with us next year? And I was like, yeah, definitely. So I played with them in 2010. And 2011, I couldn't play because I had my exams or whatever. I was just finishing school, starting work. So I didn't play ISC. And I started 1 year in 2010, didn't play in 2011. And I remember it was probably this time of the year back in 2011. And I get a call from Broken Bow, Nebraska, and it was Doc. And he said, it was Doc Simmons looking for you to play on Jarvis Travelers next year. And we're looking at a young fella named Sean Cleary as well. Yeah, I mean, definitely we'll do that.
Yeah, we'll join.
Yeah, we'll join that team.
But I want to jump in there for a second. So in 2010, you made your ISC debut after after playing in one tournament in the AAU with Ward and these guys that kind of put in a word for you, I'm sure. You don't play ISCs the next year, and then you get the call to go play with Jarvis.
Yeah. Just
Talk about
Canadian.
way to pay your dues there, Boley. Like get in there, right? Plug away, and earn that spot on the top team.
I know. But look, complete. I got lucky. Like De La Sean was their catcher, and he moved on to a different team, and yeah, I got lucky. Like completely hooked a break there, and
no, but it goes to show that there's so many top events out there, right? And there are these weekend tournaments and people are watching, and the Canadian Senior Nationals, for example, the coaching staff for Team Canada is there, but this is where the softball community comes in. The top players that are linked. There's players make a lot or have a lot of input on who gets picked up, who gets brought on, who gets given that chance when they're young, and that's why those events are so important. And you've obviously done a lot of things right to turn some heads up into that point of your career. But it's hats off to you. There was a lot of talent. You don't get a call from Doc Simmons to come on that team unless there's, especially at the catching position, unless there's either he's seen it for himself or he has some really trustworthy, great softball minds putting that in. So that was the year 2012, was it? Or the 2012 season? Yeah. And that's when you beat us in the championship game of that tournament. And Shane was with you. In that tournament as well. So that's a pretty incredible snowball of events to get there, but it's a really special story, and I'm sure you'll look back on it, your family will look back on it. You got to win an ISC championship with some of the best players in the game with your brother in your third year in the ISC. Yeah, that had to be a whirlwind for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was nuts. And I mean, just to go back to your earlier point on, someone obviously put my name out there. I know that I'm asked questions on young players now. So, I'm a contributing factor for those guys. I don't know who did that for me, Stephen, but whoever it was, obviously I'm forever grateful to whoever was that put my name out there for Doc. But yeah, that 2012 season, I mean, these tournaments we played and who we played against and who was on our team at the time they're all Hall of Famers. We had Ben Anoka, Brandon Horn, Ian Fairman, Donnie Hale, Brad Rona, Bardarillo, Sean and Cordy on the mound, just Ryan Wolf, like Todd Martin, unbelievable. Yeah. To beat Hill, like Hill United obviously wasn't established as you guys are now. But I mean, it was still a powerhouse of a team. I think you only lost one game up until that point. And that was, it would have been, I think, monumental for Hill United to knock off Jarvis at that time, because Jarvis was such a dominating force back then. But I guess for me, that Hill United team was still at the top of the mountain, even though I know, looking back, you guys were just getting started, like not even close to being on the top of the mountain as you are now. But then it felt like that for me. So yeah, it was pretty special. Yeah.
And that was a great game too. And I think it went extra innings. It went like 9 or 10 innings. You had a big home run that game, big go ahead home run in opposite field. But you touched on Shane.
You couldn't get the extra 5 feet that we needed out of yours where the boys bobbled it in the outfield. Yes, that was some play, man. That was something. You remember that, Boley?
Yes.
Yeah, I just about fainted on my way to second.
Yeah. So for our listeners who may not be aware, Hilly gets up in a big spot in this game, championship game in ISC, which he does a lot apparently. Gets up big moments in ISC championship games, and he hit one on the screws, just got under it a little bit, goes out to kind of right center field gap, and it was Benny and Freddie Turkelson, I think. They were running into the boys. The ball's coming down. They didn't know who was going to get it, and I think last minute Freddie kind of called for it, threw his glove out, popped out of his glove, and Benny caught it or something like that. It was an absolute crazy play. The place went nuts, and just one of those plays that'll forever be remembered as, could have went either way. If that falls in, it's probably a different champ. But it was a fantastic game.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, looking back, I mean, there's footage of the game. I mean, it's pretty grainy, not like the video footage today. But
know what else I remember in that bowling? And So I'm playing first base, and Danny Hale's up. And I don't like when Danny Hale gets up. He's from New Zealand, one of the best power hitters, all-around hitters.
Yeah. Fuck you. I was playing third base, and he's right-handed batter.
Yeah, but Hilly, you're over there. Man. You're like Felix Potvin over there. No one's worried about you, bud. So, right? Yeah. But I'm up. Anyway, you don't get him to foul the ball off very often, especially in foul territory where you might get it. And there's really high fences down there. And where was this? This was Midland, was it?
Midland, yeah.
So first base dugout, the ball, he pops it up. Like, holy geez, here we go. Right? Big moment, Danny Hale. I run over, climb up the fence. It's in foul territory, but I reach over the fence and just nicks my glove. Right? And I'm of the mindset, if you can touch it with your glove, you should catch it. Doesn't matter what type of play. And anyway, falls down. Next pitch, bang.
Bang.
Gone. Yeah. Like, holy fuck. Like, that's exactly, game of inches when it comes to players of that caliber.
Oh, big time. I mean, he had a hell of a tournament. That tournament, I think he broke records that tournament. Like, he was just on fire. And then watching him in batting practice. I mean, I don't know if you ever played with him, Stephen, but Jason, I know you have. Like, watching him in batting practice is a bit of a treat because he'll only ask for balls like 2 feet outside to swing at, because he'll say, if I can hit that one, I'm going to hit the one closer. He won't do the prescribed team routine. He'll just go do his own thing. And but I mean, a team guy, like such a good person to be around and a good teammate. But yeah, he definitely takes a different approach at practices and batting practice. It was fun to watch.
Anyway, as I was saying 5 minutes ago, before my co-host robbed the mic on me again.
Oh, here we fucking go. Go ahead.
You mentioned your brother Shane was on that team, 2012.
Yeah.
At what point did you, like, obviously Shane is an elite ball player, turned himself into a stud. At what point growing up, what's the age gap between yourself and Shane?
Like 4 calendar years.
Yeah.
So 4 grades.
Yeah. Okay. So at what point growing up and watching your little bro, like at what point did you know, okay, this kid is pretty good. This kid can, this kid's is going to go places in this game, part one. And part two is, what is it like, or what was it like to, not only play senior nationals with him, play ISCs with him, wear the maple leaf, but like win at that level, like with your younger brother, like, it's got to be an awesome moment.
Yeah. I guess to answer the first question, when do we know he was going to be good? Probably when he was 6 and we were all 10 and he was beating us in pig in the backyard. Yeah, so we knew like couldn't beat him. And he was like, he's still a little squirt, and he was even smaller back then. He would beat us in all these like fielding games and hitting games, and obviously he's a good hockey player. So we just knew he was going to be a special talent. But like Dad tells a story, he remembers when we were at Canada Games in Regina. Shane was down on the practice field. We were playing a round robin game. It doesn't even matter who we were playing at the time. But the point of the story was he was down on the field with no lights on. Just taking like a handful of balls and just whacking them off the backstop like by himself. And I think back now, like he could play on that team, definitely in 2005.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. No, he's a special player, man, and it just goes kind of that Boland family. That there's that professionalism, that fire and intensity. Obviously, the skill level is there, but then the leadership. Both you and Shane will be are currently two of the top leaders in the game, clutch ball players, best at your positions, and it's definitely an element that not every ball player has and every team needs. So I'm sure, and we're going to have Shane on here in the coming weeks too, where we know just from playing with him the influence that you've had on his career, setting that example. But you talk back to these games that you're playing when you're kids, but knowing how fiery both of you guys are, were there any scraps or tilts back in the day or even recently? When two of you guys get going, especially in a competitive environment, any scraps?
I remember it was me versus him. So the boys were eliminated. It was just down to me and him. And Dad's hitting them. So we had these 2 pine trees in the backyard, and like if you get it past us and hit the fence between the trees, that's PIG. Then you're done. So we were both PI, and Dad gave me like an easy one, and I bobbled it. Went through the legs. I took the glove. I said, Jesus Christ. And I looked at person back then, like you couldn't, like it wasn't a liberal environment like it is now. Like I looked at him, my dad, and he gave me the death stare. I fucking took off up the kilos and everything. So yeah, no, Shane and I never really, fought. I guess like as we got older, we had like little tiffs, but there's quite a difference in age there. So there wasn't much fighting, like physically fighting, but like we always competed in ball and hockey, certainly in the yard and in the community, in the neighborhood. And man, I tell you, like if he didn't win, he was certainly holding his own against people 4, 5, 6 years older than him. So I mean, you could tell he was pretty gifted.
Yeah, and you guys come from a really small town, Goulds, Newfoundland, and this is funny to me because we call it the Goulds, right? But it's Goulds. Yeah. It's like COVID. In Newfoundland, is the COVID, right? The Goulds. that's what I call it, the Goulds. But that being just on the outskirts of St. John's, you're close enough to play in that senior league and be around it, but it's a small enough community that's kind of like concentrated Goulds versus everybody else. You're not St. John's proper, and there's a lot of good ball players came out of that area.
Oh, big time. I mean, out of Goulds, minor softball, in the area there's Sean Whitten and Chris Maher and Ryan O'Neill, who are all Team Canada guys, and then myself and Shane, Colin Walsh, Ryan Kirk, Mark and Mitch Stack. They're all, I mean, some of them are Petty Harbour, Maddox Cove, but it's still all the same area. And I probably forgot a few, but it's a very softball heavy area for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So you talk about, obviously they had a minor program all the way up through and stuff, but sticking with the minor, there's some things I want to circle back to, but sticking with the minor softball. So let's chat a little bit about your program, the Avalon Wave, Avalon Fundamentals. Mm-hmm. A little bit about how that came to be and basically how far along it's come and where you're at right now.
Yeah, so I mean, this program it holds a pretty special place in my heart, and I put a lot of effort into the program because I really believe it can make a difference in ball players and in teammates, no matter what sport. I mean, I just remember driving around the city, seeing T-ballers out on the infield, basically just corralled into a horseshoe. One person at bat. One person gets a hit and, they run to first base, and one person gets a touch on the ball and ball goes back to the pitcher. And like I just said, I mean, I grew up in my backyard, like taking grounders, taking BP, doing pop-ups. And I'm like, that's where we got good. We got good doing that kind of stuff. Yeah. So we need to do that at home to make these good tendencies and start them at a young age. So that's what we did. I mean, it started with a small board, and it started with a $500 donation. And, now we got still a very healthy membership of 160 kids. We're still targeted age 3 to 12 in the base program, the summer program. And, we'll probably expand to a U14 or U15, whatever age group it is now. This year, and our numbers will keep growing. I mean, I think one of our pillars is to bring the skills and bring the drills that we do back into the backyard and back into the home, and parents can understand that you don't need to be Ryan Boland or Steve Mullally or Jason Hill to construct these drills with your kids. It's literally just roll a ground ball or get a tee and get a pop-up net and hit the ball into that net. And really nothing we're doing is earth-shattering at all. It's just building proper fundamentals and really creating a family-type culture at the ball field. And it seems to be working, and we're happy with it.
When you look at 160 kids, and it's a small geographical area of the country and of the province, to have 160 young ball players come out, and how do young ball players get enrolled? Their parents see some sort of value in there, right? And we hear it all the time. What can be done to help strengthen the sport of fast pitch, sport of softball, and then on the men's side in particular. And the one thing that keeps jumping out to me about this is that you can have kids, you can teach kids to play. You can instill passion about the sport. They may not even know what it is, but they're not going to organize themselves. It has to come to having people give back to the game and organize. And what you've done and created down there is you've organized an environment and a program that allows kids to come out and experience the game, whether they know it and grew up with it or their first time playing, and they make friends. And then they tell their friends, and the parents tell other parents. But it takes people organizing and creating something that kids and parents can come and be a part of. Same thing when it comes to leagues and teams. Someone needs to organize these things, and that's where it needs to start, is with organization. And you could have done that at any level of fast pitch. You could have picked 16 and 18-year-olds and tried to bring it in, but the great thing about it, and hats off to you, is the fundamental side of it. And creating that passion and love for the game, which all comes from playing games that are fun, seeing that positive reinforcement. And we get to see the videos. We talk about your program on the podcast a fair amount. And I know, Hilly, you've been involved, and that program is really near and dear to you, not only as a ball player and a coach, but as a parent who has kids taking part in it. It's one of the most influential things and positive things I've seen in the sport of fast pitch in so many years. And congratulations, and thank you for doing what you're doing.
Oh man, I really appreciate it. And and that's what we want. We want people to have a positive experience playing the game. Like I said, man, growing up, I was not a good, but not a talented athlete like Shane was per se, but you had a fire because you loved the sport and you love being in the backyard doing what you could do with your friends and your family, and that's what we're organizing. That we had a couple teams this year. They're really good fundamentally. They don't know how to play the game yet, which is all good. No time to press panic buttons. Like, they don't know how to tag up and stuff like that. But that'll come. They can all hit the ball pretty well, and they can all catch the ball, throw the ball. So
that's awesome, buddy.
Yep. Yeah. And I'll add to another cool part of your program too, is that you encourage the volunteers and the other coaches and come take part in our session, come like coach to coach type thing, right? And then so volunteers can see what you're doing and different drills, because there's always mixed up and doing different things, and then they can take it back to their kids or their associations and stuff like that, right? So it's pretty cool, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we're making it up as we go, as you know. Like, there's no formula to it all, and you just try to get feedback from different associations and different players and different regions around the world and what they're doing. And
it's great, man. It's great.
Yeah.
Dust Up with Hilly and Lolly is supported by Miller Lite. Great Pilsner taste with only 90 calories and 3 grams of carbs per serving. After a tough game, it's always Miller time. Please drink responsibly.
I want to get your perspective on some just key moments that jump out to me from playing together or games that we've been involved in. And there's some really intense moments, some really special on-field games and things like that, some funny ones and controversial ones, I should say. So there's a few I want to start with, but when we played in our theme song, right at the end, Chris Abbott is saying that, Mullally drops his glove, grabs Dalton. This happened right after you got bowled over by Matty Waugh in Newfoundland. And I want to know what that whole thing was like from your perspective, because that was one of the most intense moments. And sure enough, it had to happen in a Newfoundland versus Newfoundland national championship game at home. Just walk us through that.
Oh my, yeah. I mean, so obviously Matty out on second, Ryan Kirk up, and we're just like, we got to attack Ryan outside. Like, he's not really. Sean's drop ball was biting, and Ryan likes to pull the up and in pitch. So anyways, we went with a dipper away, and he went with the pitch, and looking at the video and remembering it, like, Matty should have scored easily. You should have, Matty.
There you go.
I think Brad might have made a fake play out in the outfield, like he was going to catch it. And you see that play if you watch Major League Baseball. You see like people pretending they're going to catch it to try to check up runners. So maybe that happened. Ball dropped, the relay, Brad missed the cut. I think Shane was the cut, and when Gilly was the chaser. I mean, that play was so important that Gilly was chasing that cut play, and he threw a seed to the plate. There's no other way to put it. I mean, Matty hammered me. He fucking hammered me, and the helmet went flying, and he landed on top of me, and I rolled him over, and I cocked my fist, and I said, whatever I said to him, I said. And then the brouhaha happened, and you get choked and punched and told off, and then the fans are telling you off, and I'm home, like I'm 20 minutes from my house, and you're just fucking ripping me. Yeah. Like, I'm the villain. I'm the villain here because we're wearing black jerseys, I guess, or we're expected to win. I don't know. But like, we got no imports. We don't have any imports. We're all Newfoundlanders here, right? The Kelly's Pub team got imports. That's what I said to someone I know that was chirping me, and I was like, just be quiet, man. Just I didn't say that word. I was like, come on. We're not, like, who are you chirping here, man? Like, I just got rocked. And, you should have got kicked out of the game. I'm like, for what? For what?
Exactly.
Getting fucking destroyed at home plate. Yeah. And just flipping someone over. No. You're wrong. Anyway, I was in a kind of a bad place the rest of that game, as you can imagine. The people there chirping you, people that that was a bit shitty, but I'm super happy that you came up with the hit and Sean pitched the jam. Yeah, it was a shitty experience. I got to say, like, 2 Newfoundland teams playing at home, like, that should be celebrated to the masses. But now you're.
Do you expect anything less though, Boley? And it is what makes playing at home special. And Hilly, we've gotten a chance to do it a few times now. Like 2007, and Boley, you were young there, but Hilly, that was devastating to lose. And then it was kind of our chance at, all 3 of our chance at redemption. And then it makes it cool that you're playing against Newfoundland, but guess what? The crowd is split now, right? It's not going to be same as playing Vancouver or the BC team, because we would have been, the hometown pride and joy then, but it's something special. And I'll throw it to Hilly too, because you grew up 5 minutes from that ball field that we played, but it's pretty cool to look back now and then looking ahead till next year on just playing in Newfoundland for Newfoundland at that level.
Yeah, man. I'm super. Hopefully it goes ahead. I mean, it's supposed to happen, 2 summers ago? But and I don't even know, to be honest with you, if it's going to be down to the Caribou. It might be at Lions Park.
That'd be cool too. We've never done that.
I think it's going to be, from what I heard. Now, this is a year ago. It was supposed to be split, and the legends and stuff would be down to Caribou, and we'll be at Lions Park. But even so, it's pretty cool to play at home. The fans are passionate. They're knowledgeable. For whatever reason, they always seem to go for the underdog. I don't think it was split for 1 second. I don't think it was split back when that happened. I think it was more 60-40 for Kelly's Pub, or maybe even 70-30.
Probably more than that.
But at the end of the day, it's an awesome experience. You get to play in front of your friends and family. If you get to win, it's pretty cool. But, like, you know what? The one that I always think about is 07. It just stings. We were fortunate enough, and we were lucky enough and to win a few, but it's always that one that really sticks in my mind. It stings, man. That 1-0 game against Vancouver.
Yeah, that was the demon, and for me personally, just the way that game went. So it was redemption. It never takes away the missed opportunity, but it kind of closed that chapter of winning at home. And Boley, but you get a pretty cool perspective. I'm playing on first. Hilly's in eating cheesies on the bench, right? He don't even get to talk to anybody. But you're right in the mix. You're talking to the umpire, but every batter from the other team steps in the box, and after that, I don't know, if someone came down to first and said, "Wow, what the fuck? What kind of play was that? What's going on?" But you're right in the thick of it all. Just talk a little bit about that position in big games, or when there's moments. Is there any jawing back and forth when there's players getting set up in the box, or how does that whole thing work?
So no, I definitely don't like to jar with players, because I don't want to light a fire that is not lit. So I'll try to stay away from chirping a player, but I definitely do make an effort to get the umpire to like me. So I will suck up. Tell him the zone is good. Which, if it is good, it's good. If it's bad, it's still good.
Jeez, Blue, those jerseys are really slimming.
Yeah,
a little bit like that, right?
Yeah. So if we make that plate 20 inches instead of 17, then Sean, if he's pretty much gets game over then. So that's what I try to do. Players, I mean, if you fellas are in the box, like certainly I'll jar you or Jason, but it's never anything like negative to my buddies and to people I don't know. I just don't even deal with them. Don't talk to them. Don't want to. Just get them out. And sit down. Yeah.
But Bowley, you've been a part of a lot of really big moments at all levels in this game, and you get a pretty cool seat, and you play a key role in how those games go, calling behind the dish on the defensive side. But in 2015, we got to talk about the Pan Am Games championship game. But we just came off winning the WBSC, and you and Sean had that goal of wanting to win, but also wanting to win on the mound together as battery mates with Team Canada. And we got that rivalry. We just came off the rivalry with New Zealand, and that was Devo throwing to Sandy for the last pitch. But you and Cleary are now in your comfort zone in Ajax in front of a packed house against Venezuela in this nail-biter of a game. Finally get down and get the last out, getting the run out, hug your buddy, throw the gloves up, mom and dad, let's go, right? Yeah. Everybody's around.
I know.
And then buddy trips you up. And the place goes bonkers, man. Walk us through that.
I mean, that's a long process. So everything we done from 2012 to that moment really was for Team Canada. So like I remember in 2014 we're there preseason at school's ball field, and we got garbage bins set up. Like this is this person. Like this is where Beninoka's going to stand. This is where Jerome Ramacki will stand. This is where Brad Rowan will stand. And we're just like literally trying to hit like not just outside like 6 inches off the ground. Like this is where we need to get this person out. So a lot of effort went in for Sean and I went into perfecting our zone and really studying hitters. So 2015, that the game against Venezuela, I'll say it's one of the best games he's ever pitched or that I've ever caught for him. Certainly, his ball was just it was just electric, up and down, change up was working. We knew we were going to get, I don't even know the guy's name on Venezuela. I guess it doesn't matter because probably won't face him again, unfortunately. But
unfortunately, hey, Hilly.
Unfortunately.
You know where he's going with that. But that's, there you go.
I mean, it's a
one
moment
pitch next time. That's one pitch Bowley coming in there now.
Yeah, it's a moment that 100% taken away. It was a you just really, you live it in your head. You're thinking about it the night before. You're like, we got a chance at winning the Pan Ams. You're going into that seventh inning. You're like, oh, fuck, they are not getting 2 runs off us now. And, it was the strikeout he missed by, I guess, 1.5 feet, like a lot. You watch the video and it's just pure excitement. Like I just get goosebumps talking about it and watching the video. And, the leg comes out and I go down half hard. Like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? I just wanted to jump on him and just, yeah. The umpire came and the umpire said, no, don't hurt him. I was like, I'm certainly not gonna hurt him right now. I mean, I just want to celebrate with my buddies, but the bench is cleared and their catcher got up in our face. Their pitcher came out pretty hot. And I guess that was pretty much the end of any bit of, let's say, sportsmanship I had with Venezuela.
Yeah. I remember, I didn't know at the time what exactly had happened. I just seen the benches clear and I was like, well, fuck, we just won. What's going on here? And then I watched the video after to see, what he did. And I don't care, that's poor sportsmanship at its finest. It was bullshit in that moment. Our moment, You know, the game could have went either way, but the way it turned out, it was our moment and our hometown fans.
Yeah.
You know, like that was bullshit, and I was choked. And then the whole melee, it's like, you know, and there was bodies going everywhere. I was like, we should be jumping up and down right now, and now we're trying to get at each other. I was like, this is nuts, guys. Like, you know,
and it was a bullshit play, and I felt like what's that fella from the Lord of the Rings, Gollum, right? I felt like Gollum and the other fella, because I'm there like, no. Let cooler heads prevail. Now we won, and then like fucking kill him, go, let's go, right? You're having to talk yourself down, but you know it's you're representing Canada. You're at that level. We won. Cooler heads prevailed because it was such a special moment for us, for the country, and to win at home. And thankfully, the victory wasn't tarnished by that guy putting his leg out. The moment for you and them was spoiled, but the victory was still there. So I'm glad you did restrain it, especially knowing how competitive and fiery you are. I'm sure it took a lot out of you to hold back, but hopefully looking at I can see the medal behind you in the picture. Hopefully that feeling comes through, you know, the getting tripped up.
Well, we were down one body too, because Opie couldn't feel that ground ball, and his knuckle was back to his wrist, and I was like, oh God, we don't have him now.
Yeah, well, he's a big boy. You don't have him coming off the bench, right? Yeah, maybe it was a little bit of self-preservation.
Settle down here. Yeah,
but that was awesome, Boley, and we could talk to you all night, but there are a few things that we want to make sure we get to touch on. And we've had the pleasure of having a lot of our buddies from Team Canada recently on here. We had Elsie now jumping into the coaching role. We had Devo on here and Bradley. And knowing how prepared you like to be and how you like to plan for these events. It's a pretty big year coming up for Team Canada, and you in particular coming into your, fourth now, I think, WBSC. And where's your head at now, knowing that those are right on the horizon?
Yeah, I mean, so it's always, obviously, as you know, it's always an honor to get the call to go play with your country. I think where my head is now is, Stephen, the game is changing very much. And I mean, got to play at the ISC this year with no Canadians, and seeing how other countries are preparing for games. It was good for me because I got to learn that side of things, but I don't know if I'm nervous, but they're ready. They're getting ready, and we need to, as Team Canada, need to be ready for New Zealand, for Argentina, for Japan, because the focus that they're putting on us is high. So I'm obviously excited. I mean, the team we got, I think, is a very strong team. There's a few new guys there that I don't know, and I'm excited to get to play with. But I think that it's going to be challenging. We're going to be in tough. These countries are preparing, and we got to be able to match that. So I mean, you know, everyone has to do their own individual training, which I'm sure they're doing, but there's a team element there that we need to really come together quickly and understand how we're going to beat these teams. So I'm excited for it. It's going to be a huge challenge. I mean, we lost a lot of leadership on that team, so there's going to be some new ways that the team is going to be conducting themselves, I'm sure, and there's going to be swagger lost and swagger gained, which is all going to be new and exciting. But at the end of the day, you know, all that's out the window, and we just got to win because that's what's expected. Yeah,
I'll finally get a new roommate.
I can see the tears forming in your eyes. Heaven help whoever got to go in that now. Whoever it is, call me. That's all I'll say. I'll prepare you. I'll give you rooming with Hilly 101.
Yeah, but no, jokes aside, man, we got our work cut out for us. We're playing in February. You know, I'm up in the ghouls Thursday nights in February going bar down, right? So it's now all of a sudden we got to go down south and how many qualify from Argentina? Is it 4 teams or?
I'm not sure. Because
I mean, you got us, and because the tournaments, I think it's cut down to 12 teams, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I mean, you got us, you got Cuba, Argentina, Venezuela, the US, Mexico. Like these guys are no pushovers anymore like they used to be 15 years ago. Right.
No.
It's going to be a tough tournament, especially for us in our off season. But it is what it is. I mean, we got it, like you said, everybody got to take it upon themselves to do their own individual thing. There's a few of us going to Florida for that. It's not AAU, but it's whatever tournament it is. I know Hilly United's going down. The national team is taking some guys down there, and we'll get some work in there. But yeah, man, and February's going to come pretty quick. Here we are in November month already, right? It'll soon be Christmas. November's on the milk. Buzz says November's on the milk. It's soon be Christmas.
November's on the milk. There he is. Right? Yeah.
Right.
No, it's exciting, man, and that'll just go to speak to who Ryan Boland is as a ball player, right? And I think you talked about it earlier back when you're younger, going into New Zealand the last time. You're like, we're top of the world. You're unprepared. And now to hear going back to New Zealand, let's call it, what is it, 8 years later, and it's, the mind is on how to be prepared, aware of those other teams coming up and knowing the challenge that's going to be meeting you when you get down there. I know that pitching staff, the leadership on the team is in great hands with you, buddy. It's been an absolute pleasure being your teammate and going through all those experiences with you, and to get you on here and go through only scratching the surface on all, your insight into the game, a lot of what you've done. I do want to throw this invite out there right now, and probably a couple of months from now, if you would come back on here with Sean O'Brien, we talked about it, want to have like a behind the dish insight session with two of the best that we've played with, and would you be interested in coming on and doing that with us?
Oh, absolutely. We can learn. Can you make it before New Zealand so we can learn a few things from him? Yeah, I'm sure he's still got lots to give.
We'll line up. He's a huge fan. I know he's really proud of you, but you're one of the best class acts, best ball players out there. Great ambassador for the game, for our province, for the country, and what you're doing to give back to the younger generation now with Avalon Wave. Hats off to you, buddy. Thanks for coming on with us.
No, thanks, Stephen, Jason. Certainly appreciate it. I mean, getting to chat with you folks about my game and about our games and our experiences together is pretty cool. But like certainly this podcast, there's players there that I don't know that well that you had on, and that was those are probably the favorites that I have, listening to like Rob Gray and Colin Abbott and Todd Martin, listening to those stories and those guys. So what you're doing to shed light to the game and to the stories and to the players. It's not only cool for the fans, it's cool for the active players as well, because at the end of the day, we're just one small community of fast pitch players that just want to get out there and win. And at the end of the day, you have lots of fun, but I'm sure we're all bred the same, as we just want to go out and win.
That's right, buddy. Right on, man. It's been a pleasure to have on you. The very last thing from me. There's no secret. There's a coaching career in your future, and I see last week you're assistant coach on the Team Newfoundland softball team, boys softball team. Mm-hmm. You named the team last week. What can we expect from the Newfoundland boys?
Oh, I mean, that was my first real time picking a team like that with our coaching staff. The team was tough to pick. I mean, we had a lot of good athletes try out. I think the model of that team really comes down to the way the national team is built on versatility and picking athletes that are physically fit and ready to go. I think we got a good pitching staff. We got Pittman and Whalen and Weber. They're three good arms. Certainly, Pittman had a really good showing at the juniors. We also got Liam Shea, Rymar, Logan Power. These guys are proven senior hitters now. So we got a good core. We got good depth off the bench. I mean, it's a lot of things that go right to have success at the Canada Games. We can't say we ever had the success that we would like to have, your team or my team. But hopefully this can be the team that gives us a gold medal at the Canada Games. So, I mean, that's the main goal. There's certainly Saskatchewan, Ontario, Nova Scotia are going to have really good squads. but we got to be ready to match up against them and take them on. So, yeah, it's good. It's good squad.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Looking forward to taking it in.
Yep, that's just going to be down the road from us up here, so I'll be down checking that out when that happens. But Boley, great having you on here. Hilly, another fantastic episode, one of the best in the game. And we got Lucas and Nick here. A little bit of rum ragged to take us out.
Ladies man, but I'm unhappy now. For courting 6 girls all at once they used me. My mother said it was naughty, I should kiss her back. But I said if it's naughty, sure it's also very.
And the Wally drops his glove, grabs Dalton. The benches are clearing.